20 minutes. That's all it took for a life to unravel. At 7:43 p.m., Jack O'Sullivan closed his apartment door behind him. The sound of his footsteps faded down the stairwell. By 8:02 p.m., his phone blinked one last time near the river. And then nothing. No scream. No goodbye. Just silence. A silence so loud it's echoed for years. Tonight, we're not just asking what happened to Jack. We're asking how someone can vanish from the world like a breath on a mirror, leaving behind only questions and a mystery that refuses to fade. It was a Tuesday night, the kind of evening that feels forgettable until it isn't. Jack O'Sullivan laced up his sneakers, grabbed his keys, and sent a text that's now etched into true crime lore. Back in 20. The sky was bruised purple with twilight. Birds settled into silence. His footsteps echoed down the sidewalk, a sound no one thought to notice at the time. But here's the thing about ordinary moments, sometimes they're anything but. By 8:02 p.m., Jack's phone pinged one final time near the river. And then he was gone. Not a shred of evidence. Not a single witness. Just an empty park, a cold trail, and a question that's clawed at the minds of millions. How does someone vanish into thin air? Tonight, we're dissecting every second of those fateful 20 minutes. We'll walk the path Jack took, sift through the rumors, and confront the theories, both logical and bone-chilling. This isn't just a story about a missing person. It's a story about how the world can swallow a life whole and leave us staring into the dark, demanding answers that may never come. Before he became a mystery, Jack O'Sullivan was a person, a real person, the kind you'd pass on the street without a second glance. He worked at a small design firm in Bristol, where his co-workers called him the Human Control Plus C, because he'd quietly fix everyone's mistakes. His weekends were a rotation of hiking trails, retro gaming marathons, and a standing coffee date with his sister, Mia. Friends say he'd memorized the entire Legend of Zelda soundtrack, could hum it note for note, but hated singing in public. He paid his rent on time. He watered his neighbors' plants. He was, by all accounts, ordinary. But ordinary people don't just disappear, do they? Here's what we know. Jack grew up in a seaside town, the middle child of 3. His childhood bedroom was plastered with posters of Star Wars and Studio Ghibli films. He studied graphic design at university, where his professors praised his meticulous eye for detail. His coworkers joked he could spot a typo from across the room. His last Instagram post? A blurry photo of his cat sitting on his keyboard, captioned, "Promotion postponed indefinitely." This is the Jack the world thought it knew. Reliable. Predictable. The guy who'd text you back within the hour. But here's the unsettling truth. Even those closest to him couldn't answer the question that now keeps us up at night. Was there another side to Jack? A secret? A fear? A plan? Or was he exactly what he seemed, a man so average, his vanishing feels like a glitch in reality itself? Because that's what makes this case so unnerving. If it could happen to Jack, could it happen to anyone? Let's rewind to March 14th, 2018. A cold, clear evening in Bristol. The kind of night where breath hangs in the air like fog, and streetlights carve pools of gold on the pavement. At 7:43 p.m., Jack O'Sullivan locked the door of his second-floor apartment. He wore a navy hoodie, faded jeans, and the same scuffed sneakers he'd owned since college. His roommate, Ethan, was sprawled on the couch binge-watching a cooking show. As Jack left, he tossed over his shoulder, "Gonna walk by the river." Back in 20, Ethan didn't look up. Why would he? It was just another Thursday. But here's the thing about just another Thursday. Sometimes it's the day the universe shifts. Our first clue comes from a grainy CCTV camera across the street. At 7:47 p.m., Jack enters a 24-hour convenience store. He grabs a pack of peppermint gum, his go-to brand, and chats with the clerk, a college student named Aisha. She'd later tell police he seemed relaxed. Normal. Even joked about the store's flickering fluorescent lights. "Tell your boss to fix those," he said, smiling as he handed over a crumpled 5-pound note. The receipt timestamp? 7:51 p.m. Outside, the temperature dropped. Jack shoved his hands into his pockets and turned left, heading toward Riverside Park. It was a route he'd taken dozens of times, a shortcut through the trees that spit you out near the water. At 8:02 p.m., his phone pinged a cell tower near the park's entrance. That's our last confirmed trace of him. Now picture the park after dark. Bare branches clawing at the sky. The river hissing as it slides over rocks. A lone jogger, headphones in, sprinting toward the footbridge. Did they cross paths with Jack? Police would ask that question 1,000 times. But the jogger saw nothing, heard nothing. The night was still. By 8:30 p.m., Jack should have been home. Ethan didn't notice at first, too absorbed in a souffle disaster on screen. But when the clock hit 9 p.m., he texted, "Dude, you get lost?" No reply. He called Jack's phone, straight to voicemail. Annoyed, he assumed Jack's battery died. Or maybe he'd met up with someone. He'll stumble in at 3 a.m. reeking of kebabs, Ethan told himself, shrugging it off. He was wrong. Morning came. Jack's bed remained untouched. His toothbrush dry. His keys missing. At 10:15 a.m., Ethan called the police. The response? A bored sigh. "He's an adult," the officer said. "Check the pubs. Check his ex's place. He'll turn up." But Ethan insisted. Jack wasn't the type to ghost. He'd never missed work without warning. Never left his cat unfed. By noon, officers arrived at the apartment. They scanned Jack's room, neat, unremarkable. His laptop sat open on his desk, screen frozen on a half-finished logo design. No suicide note. No cryptic journals. Just a coffee mug with a dried brown ring at the bottom. They traced his phone. Dead. Checked his bank account. No withdrawals, no charges. His social media? Silent. Instagram, Twitter, even his Spotify. All frozen at 7:30 p.m. the night before. Then came the park search. Dogs sniffed Jack's gym bag to memorize his scent. Volunteers fanned out across Riverside, calling his name. Divers dragged the river, their flashlights cutting through murky water. Helicopters thudded overhead, thermal cameras scanning the trees. But the river gave up nothing. The woods gave up nothing. Even the security cameras along the park's perimeter showed no shadowy figures, no speeding cars. Just wind shaking the branches. And here's where the case twists from strange to sinister. 3 days after Jack vanished, a woman came forward. She'd been walking her dog near the park around 8:10 p.m. that night. She remembered a white van parked crookedly near the entrance. Engine running, headlights off. "It felt off," she said. Like whoever was inside didn't want to be seen. But when pressed, she couldn't recall the license plate, or the driver's face, or even the van's model. Just a van. A hunch. A chill she couldn't explain. Police tracked down every white van registered within 50 miles. They interviewed delivery drivers, contractors, even ice cream vendors. All alibis checked out. All vans accounted for. Another dead end. But let's pause here. Let's walk the timeline again minute by minute. 7:43 p.m., Jack leaves. 7:47 p.m., enters the store. 7:51 p.m., exits with gum. 8:02 p.m., phone pings at the park. 11 minutes. That's the gap between the store and the park. A 7-minute walk, max. So where was Jack for those extra 4 minutes? Did he stop to tie his shoe? Admire the stars? Or did something, or someone slow him down? And then the ping. 8:02 p.m. Let's say he entered the park. Let's say he followed the path along the river, like always. The park closes at dusk, but the gates are never locked. No guards. No cameras. Just a mile of darkness between the street lamps. If he drowned, why no body? The river isn't a black hole. It spits back what it takes. If he fell, hit his head, why no blood? No disturbed dirt? If he ran away, why? No. Money, no passport, no motive. If he was taken, how? No screams. No tire marks. No witnesses. Jack O'Sullivan didn't just vanish. He dissolved, like sugar in hot tea. But here's what keeps detectives up at night. In missing persons cases, there's always a mistake. A slip-up. A receipt dropped in a trash can. A text sent to the wrong number. A security camera blinking in the wrong direction. But Jack? He didn't slip. He didn't stumble. He didn't leave a single breadcrumb. Unless he didn't have a choice. Was this a crime so flawless, so calculated it left no trace? Or was it something else? A wrong place, wrong time accident so freakish it defies logic? A stumble into a hidden sinkhole? A lightning strike? A stranger's split-second decision that erased a life? We may never know, because as the days turned to weeks, the case went cold. Tips dried up. The media moved on, but Jack's family didn't. His mother left voicemails on his phone for months, begging him to come home. His sister printed missing posters until the ink ran out. Ethan quit his job, spiraling into guilt. "I should have gone with him," he told reporters. "I should have looked up." But should've doesn't bring anyone back. The night Jack disappeared didn't just change his story. It changed everyone around him. It turned ordinary people into detectives, into grievers, into obsessives scanning every crowd for a navy hoodie. It turned a quiet park into a crime scene, a gum wrapper into evidence, a text message into a ghost. And it leaves us with one chilling truth. Sometimes the world doesn't just take people. It swallows them whole. And all we can do is stand at the edge of the abyss and wonder. When Jack O'Sullivan didn't come home, the clock started ticking. The first 48 hours are crucial in any missing persons case. Golden hours, detectives call them. A window where evidence is fresh, witnesses' memories sharp, and hope still alive. But for Jack, those hours slipped away like sand through a sieve. Let's start with the search. By dawn on March 15th, police had cordoned off Riverside Park. Officers walked shoulder to shoulder through the trees, eyes glued to the ground. They checked trash cans, storm drains, thickets of thorns. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their spotlights turning the river into liquid silver. Dive teams in black wetsuits plunged into the water, feeling blindly through the cold current for a body, a shoe, a shred of fabric. They found nothing. Not a thread. Not a hair. Meanwhile, detectives tore through Jack's life. His laptop sat on his desk, still warm. They combed through his files, client projects, invoices, a folder labeled Taxes 2017. His browser history? Recipes for ramen, a YouTube tutorial on photo editing, and a Reddit thread debating the best Star Wars movie. His Spotify account had a playlist called Late Night Focus, instrumental jazz mixed with rain sounds. No secret messages, no hidden folders, just the digital footprint of a man who lived quietly. Then came the financial deep dive. Jack's bank account held £2,314. No sudden withdrawals, no loans, no gambling debts. His credit card showed a £3 charge at the convenience store for gum and a chocolate bar. His last purchase. His phone records? Calls to his mom, his sister, and a pizza place down the street. Text to Ethan. Need milk? And forgot my keys, be right back. Normal. Boring. Maddeningly normal. But here's where the frustration begins. A jogger came forward on day 3. She'd been sprinting along the river around 8:15 p.m. the night Jack vanished. She swore she saw a man in a navy hoodie, maybe Jack, leaning into the passenger window of a white van. They were talking, she said. Not arguing, just talking. But when pressed, her story crumbled. She couldn't describe the driver. Couldn't remember the license plate. Was the van even white? Maybe gray, she guessed. Or blue. Police scrambled. They tracked down every white, gray, and blue van registered within 100 miles. They interviewed delivery drivers, plumbers, electricians. One man, a florist named Greg, admitted he'd been parked near the park that night, but he'd been arranging roses for a wedding. His alibi checked out. Another driver, a college student, said he'd been waiting for his girlfriend. She confirmed it. Dead end after dead end after dead end. Then the rumors started. Online forums lit up with theories. A Reddit user claimed Jack had faked his death to escape student loans. Another insisted he'd been abducted by a cult. Someone posted a blurry photo of a man in Bristol Harbor, insisting it was Jack living as a homeless person. Police followed every tip. They drained a pond, searched a landfill, even investigated a psychic who swore Jack was near water. All they found was garbage. Literally. By day 7, the case was ice. Jack's family begged for answers. His mother stood outside the police station holding a sign, "My son is not a ghost." His sister printed 10,000 flyers and plastered them across the country. Ethan, the roommate, quit his job to join search parties. "I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and just walk," he later said. "I'd check alleys, parking garages, anywhere I thought they might have missed." But hope curdles. After a month, even the volunteers stopped showing up. Now let's talk about the dog. A year after Jack vanished, a bloodhound named Kira was brought to Riverside Park. Kira had a 90% success rate in finding human remains. Her handler gave her Jack's gym shirt to sniff. She tugged her leash toward the river, snout to the ground, tail stiff. Then she stopped, circled, sat down. "That means she's confused," the handler said. "Like the scent ends." Kira whined, pawing at the dirt. Was it a false trail? A glitch in her training? Or something worse? The river was searched again. Dragged. Scanned. Nothing. Here's what we're left with. A pack of gum. A white van that might not exist. A jogger's hazy memory. A bloodhound's whimper. And questions, so many questions. Why didn't Jack's phone die naturally? The battery should have lasted hours. Did someone turn it off? Smash it? Toss it in the river? Why no security footage beyond the convenience store? The park's cameras were under maintenance that night. Coincidence? Or something darker? And then there's the haunting possibility that maybe there's nothing to find. No grand conspiracy, no villain, just bad luck meeting a split-second accident, a slip on a wet rock, a sudden health crisis, a stumble into the unknown. But if that's true, why does the river keep its secrets? Why does the earth refuse to give him back? The hardest truth for detectives wasn't the lack of clues, it was the lack of mistakes. Most criminals slip up. They get greedy. They brag. They leave a fingerprint on a coffee cup. But Jack's case? It's a void. A perfect storm of bad timing and vanished evidence. 5 years later, the file remains open. Dusty, but open. Jack's family still calls the police station every birthday, every Christmas. Any news? Nothing. Will you keep looking? Yes. But yes feels hollow when the trail's been cold for years. So what do we do with a mystery that refuses to be solved? We pick at the threads. We replay the timeline. We stare at the map of Riverside Park, tracing the path Jack should have walked, and we wonder, how does someone leave this world without leaving a single mark? Was it fate? Malice? Or something we can't even name? Maybe that's why this case claws at us. It's not just about Jack. It's about the terrifying idea that sometimes life doesn't give us answers. It just stops, and all we can do is stand in the wreckage, clutching the pieces of a puzzle that don't fit. Pieces that maybe never will. When someone vanishes without a trace, we're forced to play a grim game of what if? What if he's still out there? What if we're missing something obvious? What if the truth is stranger than fiction? Let's break down the 4 biggest theories about Jack O'Sullivan's disappearance. The logical, the unlikely, and the downright chilling. Theory 1. Foul play. Let's start with the darkest possibility, that someone wanted Jack gone. But why? Jack wasn't rich. He wasn't involved in crime. His co-workers said he avoided office drama. His ex-girlfriend called their breakup mutual and boring. So where's the motive? Some speculate it was a random attack. A wrong place, wrong time nightmare. Maybe someone followed him from the store. Maybe the van was real. A predator trolling for an easy target. But here's the problem. Abductions aren't magic. They're messy. They leave evidence, a struggle, DNA, tire marks. Yet the park showed no signs of violence. No torn fabric. No drops of blood. Nothing. Unless it wasn't random. What if Jack had a secret life? A debt, an affair, a feud he kept hidden? His family swears he didn't. His phone and laptop back that up. But secrets don't always leave digital trails. Still, no ransom note. No smug calls. No body dumped as a warning. Just silence. Foul play answers the how, but not the why. And without a why, this theory crumbles. Theory 2. Walked away. Could Jack have staged his own disappearance? It's a trope we've seen in movies. A fresh start, a new identity. But let's get real. Disappearing isn't easy. It takes money, planning, ruthlessness. Jack's savings? Untouched. His passport? Gathering dust in a drawer. He didn't drain his accounts or pack a bag. He didn't even take his cat. His sister insists he'd never abandon his family. He texted Mom every Sunday, she said, even when he had the flu. But maybe he cracked. Maybe the pressure of his ordinary life, the deadlines, the routines became too much. Maybe he snapped and bolted, changed his name, grew a beard, started over somewhere sunny. Except how? With no cash, no connections, no survival skills beyond making a killer ramen? And why leave everything behind? Even his favorite Zelda hoodie. This theory feels like a Hollywood fix for a story that refuses to tie up neat. Theory 3. The river. The simplest answer is often the right one. Could Jack have drowned? Maybe he leaned too far over the riverbank to skip a stone, slipped on wet rocks, hit his head. The current swept him away, and the river kept his body. But here's the catch. Rivers rarely keep secrets. Bodies float. They snag on branches. They wash up miles downstream. Dive teams searched for weeks. Sonar mapped the riverbed. Cadaver dogs circled the shores. Nothing. Not a shoe. Not a phone. And then there's the timeline. Jack's phone pinged at 8:02 p.m. If he fell in, wouldn't he have struggled? Screamed? The jogger heard nothing. The night was quiet. No splashes. No cries for help. Just the river, sliding silently toward the sea. The water theory answers the where, but not the how. And without a body, it's just a guess. Theory 4. The stranger in the van. Let's talk about the van. The jogger's story. The engine running, the headlights off. A man matching Jack's description leaning into the passenger window. Could this be the key to the mystery? Imagine this. Jack's walking through the park. The van pulls up. The driver asks for directions. Jack steps closer, polite. Then a hand yanks him inside. The door slams. The van vanishes. But why Jack? No sexual predators lived nearby. No reports of similar abductions. And how'd they pull it off without a scream? Without a single witness? Without leaving tire tracks or DNA? Even if the van was involved, it raises more questions. Was it a trafficking ring? A random psychopath? A hired hit? All possible. All improbable. Because crimes this clean don't happen by accident. They take planning. And planning leaves a trail. The van theory is a ghost story, haunting but with no bones to back it up. The unthinkable. There's a fifth theory no one wants to say out loud. What if Jack's disappearance defies all logic? What if it's something we can't categorize? A freak accident lost to time. A sinkhole that opened and closed in minutes. A lightning strike. A medical event so sudden, he dropped where he stood, and nature erased him before dawn. But nature isn't tidy. Animals scavenge. Bones linger. Rain uncovers what it buries. And yet nothing. Maybe that's why this case gnaws at us. It's not just about Jack. It's about the fear that the world isn't as solid as we think. That one misstep, one wrong turn, and the ground swallows you whole. No reason. No lesson. Just gone. So where does that leave us? With 4 theories all flawed. With a family still waiting. With a park that keeps its secrets. And with a question that may never have an answer. How does a human being vanish into thin air? Maybe the truth is out there, buried in a detail we've overlooked. A missed timestamp. A lie someone told. Or maybe the answer died with Jack, lost to the dark. All we know for sure is this. On March 14, 2018, Jack O'Sullivan walked out of his apartment and into the unknown. And until someone or something shines a light into that unknown, his story remains a wound that refuses to heal. 6 months after Jack vanished, his mother, Margaret, stood at her mailbox, sifting through bills and grocery coupons. Then she saw it, a postcard, blank except for a single smudged letter. J. No message. No return address. The postmark? Blurred, as if someone had dragged a thumb through wet ink. Handwriting experts compared it to Jack's old notes, the loop of the J, the slant of the pen. It's a match, they said. But how? And why? Was it a cruel joke? A desperate cry for help? Or proof Jack was still out there, trapped in a nightmare? This is where the case twists from mystery to obsession, where coincidences pile up like dead leaves, and every answer births 3 new questions. Let's walk into the fog. The postcard itself was ordinary. A tourist souvenir from Cornwall, picturing a seaside cliff Jack had visited as a kid. His mother swore he'd never owned it. The postmark was dated 3 days before it arrived, mailed from a town 200 miles away. Police traced it to a mailbox outside a gas station. No cameras, no witnesses. Just a J scratched in blue ink, shaky, like the writer's hand was trembling or injured. Margaret kept it in a Ziploc bag untouched. I don't know if it's hope or torture, she told reporters. But it's all I have. Forensic teams dusted for fingerprints. Nothing. The ink. Mass-produced, sold in every convenience store in the UK. The postcard? A dime a dozen. But here's what chills me. That J wasn't printed. It was written. Someone pressed that pen to paper. Someone who knew how Jack shaped his letters. Someone who wanted Margaret to know it was him. Or someone who wanted her to think it was. The Reddit thread, then, there's the internet. On the 1-year anniversary of Jack's disappearance, a Reddit thread titled, "I Know What Happened by the River," appeared in a true crime forum. The user, Shadowwalker91, wrote, "I was there. I saw him. They took him. Don't look where they're searching. Look where they're not." The post racked up 500 comments in an hour. Users begged for details. Who took him? Where is he? Shadowwalker91 replied once. Follow the white van. But you won't. They own this town. Then the thread vanished. Deleted. Not by moderators. By the user. Reddit admins found no IP trail. No email linked to the account. Just smoke. Was it a troll? A paranoid rambling? Or a threat? Here's the kicker. The thread was posted at 2:17 a.m., the exact timestamp of Jack's last text to Ethan, back in 20. Coincidence? Or a breadcrumb left by someone who knew the case too well? The phantom van, let's circle back to the van. The jogger's story never added up. But 6 weeks after the Reddit thread disappeared, a mechanic in Bristol came forward. He'd been repairing a white van with a dented bumper. The owner paid cash, refused to give a name. The mechanic swore he'd seen the van before, near Riverside Park, on the night Jack vanished. Police tracked the van's VIN number. It belonged to a rental company in Manchester. The records? Accidentally wiped during a system update. The clerk who rented it quit her job 2 days after Jack disappeared. Moved abroad. No forwarding address. Another dead end. Or a shadowy loop of they own this town? The park cameras Riverside Park had 4 security cameras. On March 14, 2018, all 4 were under maintenance. The maintenance log? Signed by a worker named T. Smith. No employee by that name existed. The signature? A forgery. Who shut off those cameras? And why? The Whisper Network. Then there are the stories no one can prove. The bartender who claims a man in a navy hoodie drank alone at his bar a year after Jack vanished. He kept staring at the door, he said, like he was waiting for someone or hiding. The hiker who found a weathered sneaker near the river, size 10, same as Jack's. But when he returned with police, it was gone. The woman who called a tip line, sobbing, "I saw him in a dream. He's underground. He's screaming." And the Reddit user who messaged Jack's sister last year. Stop digging. You won't like what you find. The biggest question, all these threads lead to the same abyss. Why? Why send a postcard but stay silent? Why taunt a grieving family with riddles? Why vanish a man so thoroughly, it's as if he never existed? Unless this isn't about Jack. What if Jack stumbled into something bigger? A secret someone would kill to protect? A crime web? A corruption scandal? What if the van, the postcard, the Reddit thread, they're not clues but warnings? Stop looking, or you'll disappear too. Or worse, what if it's all noise? A postcard sent by a sick stranger. A Reddit troll craving attention. A van that's just a van. What if the truth is simpler, sadder, and forever out of reach? The one thing we know, here's what's real. A mother sleeps with a postcard under her pillow. A sister refreshes her phone, hoping for a message from a ghost. A case file gathers dust but never closes. And a park bench near the river sits empty, its wood warped by rain, as if the world itself is slowly forgetting. But we don't forget, because Jack O'Sullivan isn't a ghost story. He's a person, a son, a brother, a man who loved Zelda soundtracks and hated singing in public. And until someone, anyone, tells us why he vanished, we'll keep asking. We'll keep digging. We'll keep shining light into the dark corners of this case, even if what stares back is nothing at all. Time doesn't heal all wounds. Not this one. 5 years have passed since Jack O'Sullivan stepped into the night and vanished. 5 years of dead ends. 5 years of what-ifs. 5 years of his mother's voice breaking as she whispers to reporters, "I just need to know if he's alive." This isn't just a cold case. It's a ghost that won't rest. The posters walk through Bristol today, and you'll still see them. Faded flyers taped to lampposts, stapled to bulletin boards. Jack's smile slightly pixelated. The word missing in bold red letters, now bleached pink by the sun. Strangers tear them down. The wind rips them loose. But his family replaces them, month after month. It's all we can do, his sister says. Keep his face out there. Make sure people don't forget. But memory is a fragile thing. Names fade. Faces blur. Yet somehow Jack's story sticks. It burrows into corners of the internet, thrives in Reddit threads, TikTok theories, YouTube deep dives. Why? Because this isn't just about Jack anymore. It's about us. The obsession go online. Type Jack O'Sullivan into a search bar. You'll find forums dissecting the CCTV footage frame by frame. Amateur sleuths zooming in on the convenience store clerk's reflection in the window, convinced they see a shadowy figure. Others claim the timestamp on the receipt is forged, that the river's flow was altered that night, that the van was a government vehicle. Conspiracies bloom like mold, but strip them back and you're left with the same raw nerve. We can't accept that someone can just disappear. We dissect Jack's life because it terrifies us. If a man with no secrets, no enemies, no drama can vanish, what does that mean for the rest of us? How thin is the line between normal and gone? The family's limbo for Jack's family, time stopped on March 14th, 2018. His mother still sets a plate for him at Christmas. His sister texts his old number every birthday. If you're out there, send a sign. Ethan, the roommate, moved out of the apartment but kept Jack's cat. He'd want me to, he says, scratching behind the cat's ears. He loved this stupid fur ball. Grief has no expiration date. It's a room you get trapped in. A room with no windows, no doors, just the same question echoing off the walls. Why? Theories that won't die, let's be honest. We've run out of answers. The river theory? Drowning without a body. The runaway theory? A man with no money, no plan. The van? A ghost story with no villain. The postcard? A J that could have been scribbled by anyone. The Reddit thread? A troll's cruel hobby. But here's the thing about dead ends, they make us creative. Desperate. We start seeing patterns in static. A license plate in a random photo becomes a clue. A stranger's glance becomes a confession. We twist ourselves into knots trying to make sense of the senseless. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the not knowing is the story. The rivers whisper, visit Riverside Park today, and you'll feel it. The air's heavier there. Tourists take selfies on the footbridge, unaware of the history beneath their feet. Locals walk their dogs faster after dark. Sometimes, at night, the river sounds like it's laughing. Jack's case isn't just a mystery. It's a mirror. It shows us how badly we crave endings, neat, satisfying, tied with a bow. But life doesn't work like that. Sometimes stories just stop. The one question that matters: so where do we go from here? Do we let the case fade? Do we file it under unsolved and move on? Or do we keep picking at the scab, hoping it'll finally bleed the truth? Jack's family can't move on. The internet won't let them. Every few months, a new lead trends. A blurry photo, a psychic's vision, a drunk man's confession in a bar. None of it matters. None of it brings him back. But we keep searching. Why? Because the alternative is admitting defeat. Admitting that the world can steal a life and get away with it. That justice is a fairy tale. That sometimes the monsters win. The last word, Jack O'Sullivan, isn't a lesson. He isn't a cautionary tale. He's a reminder that for all our cameras, our algorithms, our DNA databases, we're still just human. Flawed. Fragile. Terrified of the dark. So what do we do now? We keep his name alive. We listen to the whispers. We side-eye white vans. We stare a little too long at strangers in navy hoodies. And we wait. Because the truth is out there. Maybe in a locker, a landfill, a locked attic. Maybe in plain sight. Or maybe it's buried so deep, only the river knows. But until then, the mystery lives. And so does Jack.